Welcome, everybody. Happy 2025. It is so good to be back. I've changed the format, as a lot of you who were attendees last year, the last 4 years. This platform started in 2020, and what was needed then was for us to come together as a community, to hear inspiring stories. All of you sat looking into my kitchen as I often interviewed people, or people shared stories. What I want to do this year, and what the need is for me, and I think also a lot of therapists, not just people who need therapy, and maybe one of my long-time friends now, Daphne, is on the other side, online with us, is also a therapist. I'm feeling like we also need support. We also need to share the ideas. We need to fill up our teacup. And so I'm wanting this to be about sitting around with friends. I've been really blessed over the years. I have amazing friends. So sitting at my table tonight is my longtime friend, Sjenade, who started, we met when she started my yoga classes. And as she just reminded me, almost 2 decades ago. And my very dear friend, Sharon, who it's also over a decade of a friendship, both of them therapists in their own right. Sjenade is a Chinese medicine practitioner. She studied Chinese medicine. She's an incredible yoga teacher, advanced yoga teacher now. Started doing, sorry, this is my phone telling me that we are on. So I'm just going to tell it to shut up. There we go. She lived in China for a couple of years and in Bali, and is now just visiting. And I wanted us to chat about the connection between West and East and where it meets. Sharon is a Vedic astrologer. We've all spent the day together the past few days. Sharon and I spent the day together on the beach, so came back to join the conversation. Sjenade's been staying here for a few days while she visited Cape Town. We haven't seen each other for the past few days as she's explored the rest of the peninsula, but it's her last night here. And I wanted to just share the delicious conversation with all of you. I've brought the camera forward so that you feel like you're sitting at the table. I want you to be part of the conversation now. This is for us to walk away and feel more inspired with our teacups filled up. And I'm going to, that is my official welcome, all of you. So earlier on, I was saying to you, Daphne, the necessity now is to feel also as therapists, and I know I'm now repeating myself, but as therapists and healers, to sit with friends and share our ideas, because often we're giving of ourselves to others, which is what we love doing, and there's but I often need to hone in ideas. I need to share some sort of observations. I want to feel a sense of that community. And so I want us to sit closer at the table. So thank you for joining, those of you that are here. And Sjenade, thank you for saying yes to come and chat to me.
Thanks for having me.
Good. It's been a couple of years since Sjenade and I have seen each other, but kept in touch, luckily through the vehicle of technology. So in the years that who's just joined, so if you join, please write your name. Feel free to have your screen on. Feel free to just jump into the conversation. It's always nice to see people pretend you've literally, because you have, walked into my kitchen. Don't be shy. Hello, Yvonne.
Hello, iPhone.
Hello, iPhone.
Yvonne and iPhone.
Hello, Yvonne. Nice to see you.
Thank you. It's been a while.
Yes, it has been a while. I'm so pleased that you've come, joined the conversation again. And there's Eva, and Eva's joined all the way from Poland again. Are you in Poland or Germany? Poland. I love that. I love that. So it's really about like us feeling closer again. Grab yourselves a cup of tea, a glass of wine, whatever tickles your fancy, and feel free to unmute yourselves and just join the conversation. Sjenade has been, yes, Daphne.
At the top, where the faces are, there's a black strip across. I don't know if everyone else has got that too.
I'm not seeing it in mine. Yvonne, are you seeing a black strip across yours?
No,
So
I
it's
can
like,
see
like
everybody.
the forehead. That Yvonne showed now as just her face was, the whole face then came through. But otherwise, there's like a black shadow across the top. But
And
don't worry about it.
no, because I'm just checking then to see if it's my reception or if it's yours. Kelly, you're not seeing it, hey? No, okay.
Okay, but I can see you guys all. Don't worry, I'm just
But you
mentioning.
know what, Daph? Make sure maybe you're a little bit closer towards your Wi-Fi.
Well, that's in the inside. Yeah, don't worry. It's not a
Sorry,
problem.
sorry,
Goodbye.
sorry.
Yeah.
And then,
Hi,
hello, hi. Nice to
Hey,
see you. Welcome to the
I was
kitchen.
out of touch with the Zoom. I hadn't used it for so long. Sorry. Hello.
Hi, I'm so pleased you joined. So this time we're
Thank
sitting
you.
in
Yeah.
the kitchen.
Beg your pardon?
I said this time we're sitting right in my kitchen. You're sitting at
Yeah.
the table.
Beautiful.
Brilliant,
Beautiful. Yeah.
brilliant.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure. So
Um,
anytime you want to join the conversation, I'm not going to be muting anybody on this one. You can all decide to either mute yourselves or join the conversation. And I'm going to get going with Sjenade and get back to our topic of Chinese medicine where West meets East. So I was just saying to Sjenade, we the last time we saw each other, you did come down briefly to Cape Town.
yes,
2019.
2019.
In 2019.
My last trip in South
Yes. And it was just before that weird lockdown.
Yes.
And we had seen each other on my yoga retreat in
Italy.
Yes, in Italy, which was also 2019. So it was later in that year.
Yes.
In that time, a lot happened in your life.
Yes.
You moved to China. You were already living in China, were you? So tell us the story of how you got involved in what was the inspiration getting involved in Chinese medicine.
Well, you.
Who knows? Who knew?
I was obviously, I mean, you and I were close with you being my teacher, my yoga teacher here in Cape Town when I was still living here. I had a stressful corporate job and I really looked forward to attending your classes. And yeah, it got me through a stressful time at work, but it also kind of, I think, ignited that journey for me where I knew that this kind of career that I'd committed myself to and that I'd worked so hard to build in my 20s was actually not what I wanted. It wasn't part of my soul's purpose. And my yoga practice through you as my teacher actually facilitated that and really prepared me for what was to come. And it kind of peaked. You were diagnosed with your illness, and seeing your integration of traditional Chinese medicine and other healing modalities, as well as your knowledge of yoga in conjunction with your use of Western medicine, was a real big inspiration. Shortly after you got your diagnosis, my stepfather came out of remission.
Oh, wow.
And he had a very rare cancer of the spine, which was a very, very complicated mutation of a gene. He was a Western medical doctor as well. So there was like this clash of things where he was vehemently against, and I'm sure you also encountered having going through being treated in your diagnosis with some Western medicine practitioners being quite against the use and the integration of traditional or Eastern medicine. And my stepfather was kind of the embodiment of this idea in his resistance to use any kind of other healing modality to assist him. And it was tough to watch as he passed away in 2018. So towards the end, he was using kind of plant therapy to help him a little bit to manage symptoms, but I watched him go through this long and protracted treatment, experimental chemo from the States, integrating stem cell treatments, very expensive.
Yeah.
You know, they were unsure about what the results were going to be, but as this was such a unique disease, even though it was a cancer, this gene mutation, I think 1.8% of the population has this specific gene that creates this tumor growth in the myeloma or in the spine, which originates in the bone in the spine. So anyway, it was these two viewpoints, perspectives. You played such a huge role in my life as my teacher, seeing you go through your journey, and then someone as close as my mom's long-term partner at that stage. The two different approaches were so intense. And when I decided to go back to university and study traditional Chinese medicine in China, the evidence was so clear for me. The research that was coming through, the studies that had been done, there was so much supportive therapy that could have been offered to my stepfather, that could have prolonged his time with us, eased his pain and his suffering, made his physical body and his energetic body stronger to withhold or to withstand or to manage the chemo, to give him this solid foundation to perhaps heal. I'm not saying that we can alter destiny, but I'm saying,
I hear you.
I guess to clarify also my reason for wanting to have this conversation with you is that we've seen disease, we've been ill. You know, all of us will at some point be ill, but the big takeaway for me through my studies, through my experiences with you, with my stepfather, is that when we fall ill, we should have access to every possible healing modality. There shouldn't be this one-sided, strong pull into one viewpoint. If there's anything that can offer some kind of therapy, some kind of relief, some kind of support, we should have access to that knowledge. So the reason why I want to become more vocal, and I'm so grateful for this space in order to be able to initiate this next stage for me personally as well, is that we need to start having these conversations. More people need to speak about it, and more people need to take away this taboo or this fear from using Eastern medicine, because we have living proof, we have living examples of its success, of what it can offer us. And, you know, when it's our time, it's our time. And when you're faced with this, dealing with this, when it's so I mean, maybe you can share a little bit more about this, but when you're faced with death or with something like a chronic illness, and you cannot ignore it. You know,
that's the thing. You can't kind of go, well, I mean, for me, I was like, okay, what do you want me to do? I'll do everything. And so I took both worlds and integrated it.
And what's happened is incredible. You know, why shouldn't every single human being have access to this information? Why should it be gatekept? Why should this knowledge not be shared and also then translated in a way that a lot of us who don't have experience with Eastern medicine can use? It's more accessible. It's more in a conversation. It's more in terms of ideas that anyone can relate to, anyone can use, anyone can have access to. So I guess I really want us to simplify these concepts, to make it less of like, oh, traditional Chinese medicine is this out there thing, or yoga is this out there thing, but that it is, there are scientific studies that support its efficacy. We cannot ignore it anymore. We have to understand that chemotherapy in terms of Western medicine was based off of the traditional medicine formula. All of the chemotherapy that we've got, well, not all the chemotherapy, I won't make blanket statements like that, as I'm not a medical doctor yet, but the chemotherapy that we've got, the medicine, Western chemical medicine is based off of the foundation of plant medicine out of Eastern medicine. This knowledge is thousands of years old, and it's still relevant to us today. It's very much useful for our physical bodies. The world around us changes at an exponential pace, but as us, as representations of nature, as part of evolution, our bodies are adapting, yes, but we don't. I mean, think about what's happened with technology in the last 20 years. Have our physical bodies changed as much as our phones?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
that's quite a thought, right?
We have to accept that if we are this representation of nature, that this is where we need to start to look to heal.
Yeah.
And
because, at the same time with the advancement of technology, we've also removed ourselves from nature too much. So it's to return to the foundation of where healing began,
Yes.
which is, in nature, and to stay connected to that. When we start moving away from it, that's when our body, starts flaring up. Yeah, glitch. Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And I mean, just on your point of that, like, when I went through treatment, there was a very strong separation between the doctors that I was working with. I had my oncologist, and then I had my integrated oncologist, and I had to like kind of beg them to speak to each other, which is really ridiculous. I'm like, play nicely, will you phone each other now? And one week, I would go and have chemo, and then the next day I would go and have my infusions. My integrated oncologist used Chinese medicine. A specific range is Panexia. I don't know if I showed you the Panexia, which was developed by...
I believe it's a kind of ginseng.
No, it was a whole like formulated range of different, like you would get pharmaceutical products. So from the curcumin tablets to the powders, and they were for different kinds of cancer, for breast cancer, for colon cancer. I was given like a formula and it was powerful. I could feel it as powerful as the chemo, but it blended and worked really, really well. I could actually feel things shift within the first month that I was taking it. And they have to work together. That's when, for me, I really realized the word yoga. It means union. It really means union. It doesn't mean, let's do gymnastics and I saw sitting in that chemo room, I remember sitting there and looking at all the ladies at the time, and the one I knew had like a heartbreak, one had a miscarriage, one had diabetes, one had there were nutritional issues, there were all sorts of sort of a physical, mental, emotional, and energetic issues, but all under the umbrella name of cancer. And I saw in this moment, this like physical, mental, emotional, and energetic bodies were affected, all of us affected in different ways. And then yoga, as we know, is a physical practice, a mental practice, an emotional and an energetic practice. And then it just came together like that. I was like, that is the science, the integration and the yoga of the West and the East.
This for me is super interesting, and there's a few ways from traditional Chinese medicine theory that can explain this, but I think what we need to acknowledge is that when you become a practitioner or working with energy, whether it's with yoga or any kind of other modality, you become more sensitive to that subtle energetic body.
Yes.
So you taking these herbs in traditional Chinese medicine, it was affecting your body's qi.
Yes.
Essentially strengthening your body's qi.
Yeah.
Keeping your yin and yang bound together and strengthening that energetic body enough for you to create this foundation for healing in the physical body.
Yeah.
So there's some points that I want to clarify here, because how does traditional Chinese medicine help? Well, thousands of years ago, what they believed was the first traditional Chinese medicine practitioners, they observed nature. And because they didn't have much else to do, I mean, they didn't have any distractions from, binge watching Netflix and things like that. Anyway, sorry, I mean, it's terrible, but
it's true.
But it is true. So this is what they used to do. They spent time in nature. They were close to nature. They slept in nature. They worked with nature. They touched soil. They touched plants. They saw the changes of the seasons. They observed the changes of day and night. And in early Taoist theory, they created these ideas, or these, what we now know as these cornerstone concepts of traditional Chinese medicine and also Chinese culture of yin and yang.
Yeah.
And the way the Chinese medicine texts explain life. Is they explain that yin and yang are held together by the body's qi. When there is no qi, what happens to yin and yang? They separate.
Separate, yeah.
And what is the separation? Death.
Yeah.
So the aim of the traditional Chinese medicine, the plant medicine that you were taking, was to strengthen your body's qi.
Yeah. Which
And
is life force.
Your
just
life force energy.
Your life
And
force
to
energy.
keep yin and yang held together, essentially life.
Yeah.
Furthermore, they observed the elements of nature and they realized that in our bodies, all 5 of these elements were represented. And they behaved in similar ways as they observed in nature. So we've got wood, water, fire, metal, and earth in traditional Chinese medicine. The same way we can look at these elements where they are in nature, in the core of the earth, in the oceans, in the rivers, in the rain that falls to the earth. They noticed that our bodies were also acting in this way, obviously within our physical body. And this is how they began to diagnose and how they used to use these diagnoses. So it was all this observation from nature. So when Elaine and I speak about, when you and I speak about, or any of us speak about us using nature, it's from these observations.
Yeah.
It's to say that as nature behaves, so do our bodies.
Yeah.
As our bodies behave, so does nature.
Because we are of nature.
Yes.
And I mean, I think that's so important for us to remember.
Yeah. So out of the 5 elements theory, out of yin and yang came qi, out of yin and also out of yin and yang came the representation of the 5 elements. And then of course, in all of these 5 elements, there is yin and yang. And these are then represented in the specific organs of the body. So, and each organ has its own life force energy and its own qi. Each organ has yin and yang. There's always yin within yang and yang within yin.
Which is the balance, which has to be the balance,
Yeah,
right?
Feminine and the masculine.
Yeah.
Feminine and
And
masculine.
the contrast that
Yes.
has to, the light.
Any energy that is the contrast of each other.
Yeah. So, so one of the most interesting ways is when we talk about elements of yin and yang, or not elements, they're characteristics. Is the Chinese describe it as 2 sides of a mountain. So you've got 2 sides of a mountain. On the one side of the mountain, the sun is shining, and on the other side, of course, there is shadow.
Yeah.
These are the 2 representations of yin and yang. If we want to understand their characteristics, we think about the side of the mountain where the sun is shining, it's heat, it's activity, people are playing, there's energy, the flowers are blooming, the grass is green, but if there's no rain on this side, the grass dies and the flowers wither. So this is the yang, the yin within the yang that is needed.
Yeah.
On the shady side of the mountain, you've got coolness, shadow, but it's not about being bad or good in terms of these 2 concepts. It's about neither yang nor yin is better than the other. You need that quiet time and that rest of winter in the yin to prepare your body to be able to handle the fire, the yang of summer.
Yeah.
It's all of these concepts and this interplay of this energy and creating balance
It's that
between
balance.
these 2
And
is so important.
Yeah. And understanding the nature,
Yes.
the nature
Yeah.
of the concept of balance.
Yeah.
Then being able to be facilitated
Mm.
by a facilitator, healer, doctor,
Mm.
a mentor, as to where your individual imbalances lie.
Yes.
To support you and then bring you back to homeostasis.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, essentially the body wants to heal.
Mm.
It wants to heal. It doesn't want to be in a state of lack.
Yeah.
And it wants to come back home to homeostasis, to that state of balance.
And what is that, Elaine? Us as teachers, that is yoga.
Yes,
That
exactly.
balance is
Yes, yes.
Not about
Yoga is also astrology, the compilation. of the
Exactly,
planets.
exactly.
The connection of, and that's what we, it's the union of.
Yeah.
Nothing exists solely by itself. I think this is one of the biggest lessons. There's been several aha moments in my studies, but nothing exists individually. Nothing exists on its own entirely. Human beings do not exist that way. We interact with people every day. If we think about consumption or nourishment for our bodies, what we eat is not only that nourishment, it's what we read, it's the conversations that we have, it's the interactions, it's the quality of our relationships. And this is why traditional Chinese medicine for me has been so important, or why I feel this passionate about sharing about this topic, is when you go to a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, they're not only looking at your symptoms, they want to know the color of your skin, the glossiness of your eye. They want to know are the indents on the side of your tongue? What's the color of your tongue? They want to take your pulse and understand, is your hair lustrous? You know, what's the quality, the energy that shines, the energy of your heart? You know, what is this projection? What is your air? What is your aura like even? You know, I don't think they use that word, but you know, they're looking at you as a whole. They're not only listening to, oh, I have a headache, oh, my tummy hurts, oh, and I'm sorry, I'm not bashing Western medicine.
But it's very
it doesn't address root cause.
No, and it's very individual.
Yes.
It's like it's a great science.
Yes.
But it just deals with small segments. And the human body, the human being is a complex creation.
There are no absolutes.
You know, absolutely.
There's no, once you are in an extreme, you are out of balance. In any way, if you're having too much fun, if you're happy all the time, which we know is completely impossible, you know, you're in an extreme. You are not in balance. You know, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be satisfied with your life, but for me to expect you to be happy every minute of every day of your entire life
is just
it's just unrealistic. You know,
I mean, for all of us, you know, it's to take a moment and kind of, we know it, you know, that's the thing. So we know this cerebrally. We'll know things like on a mental level. We'll discuss them even. We'll make commentary on it. But it's an interesting concept to ponder when you're sitting alone and you're in a difficult situation, whether it's a small circumstance of interaction with a friend, a decision for work, or a life-threatening disease. Can you sit and kind of go, okay, where am I disconnected? Because, you know, mentally I understood the concept that we are all connected, that things, you know, matter. But now where have I disconnected? Am I brave enough to sort of look at that thing that I'm or can I reach out and ask for help to reconnect again?
I love the way you say dis-ease. You don't say disease anymore.
Yeah.
You say dis-ease. I'll picked up on that. But it's not, this is so important because it's not disease, it's dis-ease. It's dis-ease in the physical body. It's dis-ease in the emotional or the energetic or the subtle energetic body. And I think once you start to reframe language as well, this is also an important part of your healing. So
it's interesting you say that about language, and I just want to sort of go on make a note on that point. As I've been teaching more and more, the thing that's actually really coming up is, you know, you're always looking and searching as a teacher or a therapist. And in fact, Sharon and I chatted about it today as well. The importance of being able to put words together appropriately for that person that you're speaking to. You know, how is it landed? There are nuances in it. Also, how a word will hold a vibration. Now, whether it's something you believe in or not is completely irrelevant. Because, for example, if you say thunder, or if you say rainbow, if you say water, or if you say metal, kind of taking a moment and just like hold one word, say it, and just allow it to sit in your body. You can sort of visualize. You might feel absolutely nothing. And then take another word. See if you feel the subtle differences. So now when you are having your thoughts or using your words, they have so much impact on energetically on our body. But the more you practice it, the more you feel that. And so when I'm teaching, what I'm finding is if I name a body part, arm, left rib cage, left side of the rib cage, the minute, instead of me sort of making a whole sentence to get to that section, but that word itself will draw attention to that area. And the minute you say a word, your attention goes to that word. So it's a very interesting thing, you know, as we go deeper into this practice, it's like our words do matter because they hold energy.
Can I explain on that?
Yeah.
I was thinking like with that idea, which is quite correct, every word has obviously energetic load onto it. But what I find more important, if I may kind of like contemplate on the idea of it, most of the time and most of the disturbance that comes with an energetic influences is our mind. So you might say ice. And I would see this, the connotation or the association for me, for ice, even though the energetic load of that word is a certain energetic kind of like a vibration. The mind, what's the association of the word ice for me could be completely different than.
No, I hear you. So it's interesting because there are two things that are going on now.
Yeah.
Because you can say a word, you're really veering, but these are the subtleties. Okay, so you can say a word, ice, just the sound of it, like a note, like you know, like a note that you're singing, has an energy. Maybe it's it has a weight to it. I want to say. Okay, but then you can personally have an association,
And that changes.
Emotional association to that word.
So what is more? What is more taking?
So
the word energy, and that's opening a whole. What I'm trying to say is the idea of so many understanding that we have about certain things, certain ideologies, philosophy about, because they've been saying that, you know, everything has energy. But what about the idea of the association, the mind, what it does with this thing? So you can take any medicine, put it in your body. If your mind translates it, you can take placebo. Your mind translate this as a medicine, it's going to heal me. The mind will decide that, and you're going to heal whether you put in your body poison and you put a plant that work on your chi. So there's a lot to kind of unravel, and I'm not underestimating anything, but I'm saying that there's level with anything that we introduce is something external to our body, and the internal interpretation of anything that we are going through here, which can cancel any one of the side or enforce strength without even having matter to the word, to the medicine, to the. So I'm just like expanding that idea.
But that's what Sjenade said earlier on also. When I took the Chinese medicine during my chemo time, I'd chosen to do the integration of doing both. And I have a positive association, a positive belief in it. And so that strengthens the power of that medicine into my body because I mentally had a positive association to it.
No, I just expanded, gave a little bit depth, not to cancel, you know, I've been in the pharmaceutical industry, so I've sensed that, I've sensed the practice. And whether someone got a placebo or a proper medication, the attitude was had more power.
Well, it has a strong power
than the actually what went in. And mostly I wouldn't underestimate the work that needs to be done on all levels, not on what we just put inside from the external, but yeah, I totally understand the whole discussion with any traditional medication. Could be South African, Indian, Chinese, they all use plants, and the similarities of using whatever is the nature is providing.
So really I love the flow of this because I love where science proves the traditional Chinese medicine. I love where we can now do controlled clinical trials, and where we're applying acupuncture or where we're applying plant medicine, we can statistically now, in terms of Western science, we can quantify this. So the placebo effect is huge. I can't remember if I get statistics around where I think it equates for like 67% of your healing capacity.
Yeah.
Is what your belief system is.
Yes.
But I love how this flow has gone, because it comes back to our heart, and traditional Chinese medicine explains this so well. In this energy of the heart is understanding. So the brain itself, or the mind, is an external or an extraordinary, what they call an extraordinary organ, but the heart is the matriarch.
Yes.
The heart
Love
is the apex of the health and wellness of our energetic and also our physical body.
Can I ask you
And-
why? Just like from a more
So-
practical understanding of science,
Sure.
what is exactly happening? Because we talk about the heart, but I've never, I do understand because I have scientific background, but if you can explain, what's the meaning of the thing heart? Because a lot of us take it like we're talking about the energy of the word. What is exactly the energetic meaning of the heart? Where is it in the heart? What parts, what the heart has into the nervous system, into the mental, into everything, how actually it works?
So in traditional Chinese medicine, true understanding comes from the heart. So if you think that they use the concept of a monk. If you look at a monk's face, think of in your mind's eye, you can visualize what a monk looks like. And think about their face. It's got no wrinkles.
Yeah,
you have no idea how old they are.
Yeah. Totally.
And it's like they're shining, their complexion is bright, their presence is balanced in that it's strong, but it's not overbearing. And there's this lightness coming from there that you kind of looks as if it's shining
From the inside
out. And this is this governing energy of the heart. So
What is it?
there's
cells?
there's two parts of it. So each organ, in terms of yin and yang, so there's 12 major energy channels, and each energy channel is linked to a specific organ. Each organ is yin and yang. The two organs that are represented by the element of fire is the heart and the small intestine. The heart being your yin organ, and the small intestine being your yang organ. Okay.
Yes.
So this is the stomach is earth, and it's your yang organ. The stomach and the spleen work together, but we can get there. And it's also representative in the elements of earth. But let's speak about the heart, because it's very important. What are some of the challenges that we're faced with now? Anxiety, stress, depression. None of this is treated in traditional Chinese medicine by addressing the mind. The mind is an external factor.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the connection. When we say someone is depressed, schizophrenic, struggling with mental health issues, it is this disconnection from the heart. So they call it, there are two things, specifically in the yin organs. It is the emotion theory. So the emotion of the heart is joy. The balanced emotion of the heart is joy.
I love that.
The spirit of the heart is called the Shen. And it's this celestial connection. It's our heavenly connection.
Yeah, I get it.
And what is on our way to heaven is the mind. And this understanding, so when we think about our imbalances in terms of we're depressed, or we're very much in our minds, or we're experiencing anxiety, it's all this aggravation of the heart. It's got nothing to do with the mind.
Yeah.
It's this aggravation that's come out of the heart. We're not addressing what's in the heart.
Yes.
Oh, when was the last time you experienced real joy? When was the last time you felt like you entered a room or you had an interaction with someone where you feel like you've genuinely made an authentic connection?
Can I challenge you about
This is the spirit of the heart.
So all of that's good, but at the end of the day, this is a physical thing. This is a machine. Okay. Interpretation of philosophically kind of like saying all this hard. At the end, this thing is a machine. It works by currencies, plus minuses. All molecules have certain currency, electric currencies. And so from that point of view, we need to give it more scientific, because that's what in order to address this information out to actually be applicable, that people will believe that, there needs to be some sort of a connection to some logic explanations. And so
I love the question, because if we're going to accept, and the three of us all work with energy, right? if we're going to accept the science or we're going to accept the yoga anatomy, right? This is a completely separate part of study. You go into a yoga training and you study physical anatomy, but then you go study energetic anatomy.
Yeah.
You study the yoga anatomy. It's two separate concepts, right? You start to understand the gross body, the subtle energetic body, the more ethereal body. If we're going to accept that we work with this energy, we can't pick and choose. Traditional Chinese medicine is saying that this energy also exists and it affects the physical body.
What is it? Is it energy that we can't pick up? Is it energy?
Yeah, I think it's an energy we can pick up.
Is it electromagnetic energy, or is
It can be electromagnetic. It can be the energy channels.
What in you? I'm sure you had like all the experiment that has been done about this scientific.
I mean, we are an energetic field.
Yeah, but I'm asking specifically, with all the experiment that have been done about Chinese medicine, what exactly do they pick up about the energy that the heart is specifically, and what those medicines address there?
So do you want me to give you a scientific example?
No,
So one of the studies that sticks out the most for me when I was in China is we had to attend like kind of additional lectures. It was online, it was very relaxed, but some doctors that were treating specific issues in the hospitals would come online and share their case studies with us. And one of the case studies that stuck with me the most was to do with kidney failure. So they looked at people that were experiencing treatment from Western and traditional Chinese medicine and only Western medicine. So they looked at, someone's got kidney failure, they have to go for dialysis.
Yes.
Right, and they generally do not have, depending on the severity, of course, they generally do not have really long to live. The doctor might come to you and say, actually, in this specific example, the Western medical doctors were saying that this specific case and this specific person only had 6 months to live. But he went on dialysis treatment and he went on a series of acupuncture treatment for the kidney energy channel, and he lived for 6 years.
Wow.
With no increased medication.
So what, they change the currency of the cells by
No,
acupuncture
acupuncture is on the energy channel, and there's no exact way that we can describe this, but yes, energy channels run along some of our major nerves, and they also run along some of our major veins and arteries. But also, if we're going to accept that this subtle energetic body exists, and we start to work with some of these acupuncture or acupoints, it's not always with acupuncture. The experience that I'm using now with my clients is acupressure.
Yes.
Specifically, I don't need to needle them.
Yeah,
I'm using massage, or actually in the yoga practice, just using a tennis ball or a normal massage ball, fascia release ball, to target these specific parts. And then yes, does work into the physical body. The fascia, the interconnective tissue, does it work into some of the nerves? Yes, this alleviates it in the physical body, which then translates to this energetic body, and vice versa.
So I was wondering if really, so what I get from you is that the science itself, science in general, okay, it's not specific to the science. They haven't gone down to really understand what happens exactly energetically from the point of measurement.
Well, I mean,
what happens
science
when you
itself
stick a
can't
needle?
explain this.
Because they want to see everything in physical form.
And
there's
what I'm saying, so you see results, but there's no research today that shows and give answer exactly what happens.
No, but I mean, do you know exactly what
No, I'm
God
asking.
is? I know, and I'm responding.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, do you know exactly what God is?
What?
Do you know exactly
God.
what God is? Do you know exactly what spirit is? Science can't explain
What
that.
is love?
What is
What is love? What is hate? I mean, we can see actions, but can we measure it?
No, for sure.
So while there are scientific studies that now can quantify the use of traditional Chinese medicine, I mean, there's lots of studies we can bring up. We can bring up things where people have chronic headaches or have chronic nerve pain, and just by needling specific points, either over the major nerves like the sciatic nerve or over the brachial plexus, depending on where your physical issues are, that it has exponential impacts on your pain management, on reducing the amount of chemical painkillers you would need to use. So there is definitely a quantifiable part, but even in Western medical terms, or even in Western scientific terms, a lot of scientists will say to you, not all scientists actually, maybe they start off as atheists. And the more they study the science, the more it proves the existence of God. You know, this is the beauty of what we're dealing with. And this is the whatever energy is.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty of the overlap. But what is amazing as well in the traditional Chinese medicine theory is that energy channels, meridian theory, comes from something called the spiritual pivot. It's not out of a scientific text.
Yeah.
It's out of a book literally called the spiritual pivot.
Yeah.
And it treats the physical body, but this is our gateway into treating the energetic body, essentially our God body.
Yeah.
Our connection to the divine, our representation of the divine.
Because essentially we are a spiritual existence, you know, inhabiting a physical form currently.
And I love this as well because there is now science coming out of Harvard. Dr. Lisa Miller, she's written this book, The Neuroscience of Spirituality.
Oh, that sounds
And
interesting.
they've got something like, I mean, they've got, the numbers are just crazy. You should read her book. It's incredible. Or just listen to her podcast. She's done an amazing interview with Rich Roll. And it's just, I mean, I've listened to it more than once. And whenever I'm doing yoga teacher trainings, I like to recommend this book for my students to understand now how science is quantifying the existence of this. This is not hocus pocus anymore, really. The science is
There's
clear.
too much that you can
There's
start.
too much
Yeah, the electromagnetic field kind of like thing that's starting to get
But also, then we have to ask ourselves, is it necessary for us to have a definition for it?
Yeah.
What we are doing, the practice with yoga or traditional medicine or whatever healing modality you're working with, it doesn't need an explanation. The evidence is there. You are living proof of this existence of this of its efficacy.
Yeah.
You know,
But
is it
still-
necessary for us to define it?
Maybe, why not? Maybe the curiosity around that expand more of the idea of more stuff that we, you know.
Yeah.
I hear, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in quickly. I hear what you trying to extract. And because there are people that want to know, they want to ask questions of like, well, how does it actually work? But the thing is that again plays into what you believe in can be created, you know. The science is almost a representation of the physical body. But we have 4 bodies. We have a mental body, an emotional body, and an energetic body. So science is excellent, brilliant, and necessary, but it's still limited within itself.
Yeah, but it's catching up.
It is catching up. It is catching up.
That's what I'm saying.
We're not canceling it at all, you know. But what we're saying is, it's so much more. Modalities like Chinese medicine, the human body in and of itself, the whole concept of healing. We only heal when we really can address the 4 bodies. So when practices bring together the integration of West and East, of science and energy and mental work and emotional work, that's when the real healing starts happening. And then that is the union, and that's the yoga.
And I think it's only natural for us to want to know more, to want to define
It's
it.
a
but
basic
also-
curiosity. That's what I'm saying. It's no one cancel it, and it needs to be also
It's not, we're not
observed
saying you're
with that.
canceling it. We're not saying you're canceling it. I'm saying it's it's human nature for us to want to be able to define everything. But if we're going to accept that there's something greater than ourselves, if we're going to accept our connection to spirit or to the divine, there is going to be this. We are limited here to a certain extent. It's not to say that we don't have this infinite capacity or this infinite potential to push the boundaries of our existence or to elevate our consciousness or our experience on earth, but it is a natural thing. But we also, where does faith come in then? You know?
And it's an impossible thing to define, you know. I'm going to bring up a very different kind of metaphor, but bear with me on this. So in my other life, in this incarnation, I painted film sets, and what I was really specialized in was technique painting, chemistry painting, and one of the things, for example, that I often would need to teach my crew was like painting marble. So there are probably about sort of a minimum of 8 steps if I was painting a slab to make it look like real marble. But the 8th step was the crucial one. And this you can't teach. This one would be, I would go, now become the marbles. Like, how do you explain that? It is literally, that would make the difference between a good or an okay artist and then a brilliant artist, or where it looks, where the artwork is amazing. There's that enigma, there's that something. And it's almost like, okay, I'm comfortable with using the word God, so I would probably say like God energy that comes through. But I know when I paint, as much now as when I'm teaching, I start off prepared, quite academically, and I want to, maybe reach a goal, somebody's asked for something, but when I'm in a group setting, I just let go and something else comes through me. And those are the energetics that we're speaking of, which are very hard to explain always in a perfect description, to certainly show in terms of how it came to be, but the results are very clear in how an artwork results, in how you feel after a yoga class, how your healing exponentially increases so much faster when you are working with the energy, literally going with the flow. So
my Chinese teacher used to ask us, you know the characters, but do the characters know you? Or in the acupoint theory, you know the indications or the locations of the acupoints, but do they know you?
I love that.
And this is that little, it's that tipping point, that thing that kind of gets you over the hill of understanding or experience.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
When you become that thing, when you channel through, you can be sitting in front of a client and you get all the information in terms of, your astrology, because it's a science and it's there of that person. But then there's that other X factor where that intuitive information just comes through, and it's how do we define that?
Sometimes it's I would have liked to know, as my own curiosity, because I've done science, most of my life was under that quest of understanding, and doing astrology is completely throw yourself into the unknown, because science was limited in explanation of a lot of things that were not explained. And throwing myself there and seeing what I can see, intuition, the things that I can see when I'm opening up and all of that, it would have been very, very satisfying to have a little bit more depth, because I think if we're still curious to understand it, and I think that science does start again, as I said, catching up, because when we have measurement of things and energies that we couldn't measure before, but they're existing, we all know it. But now it's actually scientifically starting developing those machineries, then it gives us a little bit another step to expand more and be sensitive to other energies higher than that, and start having more opening to a lot of other things that right now we are looking at that and we say spiritual, maybe there's more. And I'm saying, the sky is the limit, and the exponential kind of expansion can just get larger. Keep the curiosity, and we're not stepping and saying, okay, I don't know how, and it works, and I'm saying, let's go further. Why not? I'm open to anything. And
the thing is we also have to be time sensitive now. So Chinese medicine and alternative medicines have are multifaceted, but there's very much an important part of it is, there is science, and there's documentation, whatever, but it's also experiential.
Definitely.
So you wanting to have scientific definition of those experiential things, and that's a challenge, but I'm sure as things advance, maybe that will become, something like that can be more easily described, defined, or
They're going
that-
together. That's the yin and the yang.
So that's the science mind on this side of the table.
No, I have them both. I like to exercise myself because I do a lot of esoteric work. Most of my work is esoteric.
Yeah.
But I have also that side that, the experimental part is part of philosophy that it's supported. And then you can jump between those two, yin and the yang, and get the balance through that and keep on the expansion. So that's all that. But I love the conversation. It's really, I like to.
I mean, I think that I'm going to include all of you here because you have been watching us in conversation, and the evening is about us having these conversations, being able to be brave enough to open up topics that maybe we can't always, but to include, to share our ideas or our curiosities, our questions, but to come away, I mean, for me, what's really important is that we come away what I'm needing currently. So I'm completely going to speak for myself here, but I'm definitely this year, 2025, wanting to come away feeling more hopeful. There's so much going on in the world. I want to be able to sit around with all of you, and I want to sit around with my friends, and share what we're currently doing, share where it's taking us, share what it's given to us, how we've grown from that, and how importantly, and I'm going to start leading to closing it with, I want to ask Sjenade, because as practitioners and healers and therapists, we're often giving. So now I'm going to just turn it around a little bit and go, share with us just sort of as a closing thing, and I know you started with this, but how has it changed your life now personally, working with alternative medicines, having this knowledge, having moved from the corporate world into the yoga field, and your knowledge of how on an everyday level have you integrated it? Has it changed your life?
I think it's brought me closer to my life's purpose. It's kept me inquisitive about myself, but also about what I came here to do and what I feel like I can offer others. Actually, with my Vedic astrology reading, my purpose for being here is actually my work. So I am my work. And for other people, their purposes are different. It could be family oriented, it could be anything. But for me specifically, it's my work, and my work is obviously my yoga and my practice and what I'm offering. So it's me involved in assisting others in their healing journey. I think the biggest thing that I've taken out of this is that we are living with so much unaddressed emotion. And the more we continue in this vein, the more this energy of the organs is disrupted and its function is disrupted, which then in terms of Western medicine is represented as physical disease or generates physical symptoms. And the more we go unaddressed, the more the physical body takes on. So if you think about it, the organs are quite sensitive, we can agree, right? And in traditional Chinese medicine, it's no different. The physical structure of the body and the tissues of the body hold that emotional, energetic energy. So this is why if I push certain points on someone's heart channel, it hurts. And this is represented as pain. So the more that we are under intense stress, the more that we are under emotional stress, or the more we're experiencing trauma and we're not processing it, the more our physical structure holds it and then starts to produce disease.
So
because it's trying to protect our organs. right?
So very much how our mind and how our emotions are affecting our physical body.
Our physical health.
But you know, we say physical body, but it's like it becomes almost quite interesting when we go, it affects our organs. You know, like my liver can hurt if I'm stressed about certain things.
So the liver's emotion is anger and frustration. So if you're not processing anger and frustration properly, you're going to be seeing dysfunction in your liver. So the metabolism of fats and sugars. We talked a lot.
Yes.
The metabolism of sugars and fats in the physical body. So if you were going for a blood test, this might be manifest in your blood test. But also energetically, your TMJ, your clenching of your jaw, if you're having issues sleeping, if you're waking up at nighttime between certain hours, this is energy of the liver. And in women specifically, this is interesting because the liver is actually the driver of your menstrual cycle. So think about how extreme your PMS symptoms are. Think about the quality of your bleed, how regular is your bleed. If you're under intense emotional stress represented as anger or frustration, if you're not able to express yourself, if you're not in your element of wood, if your wood is dry and brown and it's not this green flexible energy, it's also representing the quality of your dreams. The energy of the liver is the Hun. It's the closest thing that traditional Chinese medicine has to the Holy Spirit. So all of this energy, if you're experiencing constant anger and frustration, if you're in a situation where you feel like you can't express your anger healthily, if you're in a situation with family members or in a romantic connection that's constantly frustrating for you or hampering you or restricting you, this energy of your liver is going to be manifest. Yeah. And then they talk about liver's yang rising, aggravating the heart, and then being expressed as fire, you know.
Interesting, because when I did the chemo, like the next day I would go and see the integrated doctor, and he would, we would also do a little therapy thing, consult where I was, how I was feeling, and I remember on a lot of the medication, sometimes, and there would be pills or there would be powders, and there would be like for the liver, reduce anger, and for the that was amazing.
And
so he was working with, like, he was a genius doctor, like a Western doctor, emergency medicine, and then studied oncology and read Chinese medicine specifically for oncology. So it was amazing to have somebody who knew how to diagnose and then bring in the Chinese medicine and work energetically, physically with me,
It was so, and I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here and share intimate details. Oh man, I don't know if I should. It's a little bit, but okay. I feel like if someone can get value out of this to understand how precise this energy can be. If you think about my stepdad's, wow. Y'all, I'm going to share some stuff here now. Okay.
It's a safe space.
It's a safe space.
Yeah.
If we think about where my stepdad's tumor manifests in his spine, and I think about his personal life experience with his previous relationships and other experiences, what is that expression in English about having a backbone?
Yeah, yeah.
And what does this represent? What does this energy represent? If you're constantly being stepped on, walked over, if you've got no way to challenge or to set boundaries, healthy boundaries, I think about where, and I felt like this is where he was at. Yeah. Emotionally. There was it was clear from his experience on the time that I'd known him, or the time that he'd been involved with my mom, I could see from his previous experiences how this energy of his interactions with his personal relationships had manifest in this energy of his spine, and it was literally disintegrating his back.
Yeah,
that in the physical body it had manifest so clearly. Someone that has had an experience like you've had, someone that has studied emotion theory from a traditional Chinese medicine lens, can see this represented in the physical body, and it's a passover of something that was unaddressed. He went into remission. His first round of cancer treatment, he was in remission for 7 years.
Wow.
But he had only addressed the physical body.
And that's the thing, you have to address that mental and emotional.
And you
body
said
as
this to
well.
me. What did you said this earlier? It's in the heart. Breast cancer is here. It's
Yeah.
in the heart.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I shared this. It was Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October last year. You know, I hate it here because it's like this focus is so on the physical body. You know, yes, we need to think about what we're putting under our arms because our lymph nodes under our arms are absorbing whatever we're putting under there. So yes, it's going to affect the lymph nodes, and this is a major cluster in our lymphatic system. So from the physical body, this is how it manifests, right? So yes, we've got to be mindful about the things we're spraying under our arms and what we're putting under our arms, etc., etc. But you're saying, we know in yoga, this is your heart chakra.
Yeah.
What is it responsible for? You know, it's this healthy emotional expression. You know, if you're sad, you're protracted here. If you're happy, you're open, and your presence is felt in a balanced way. In the traditional Chinese medicines, if you have a healthy understanding of the world around you and of yourself, then the energy here is going to be balanced.
Yeah.
You know,
And when you go to a Chinese practitioner, what I liked about it is they will speak about the physical body. Then we spoke about the mental body, about the emotions, where they were sitting. It was all included in it to get a proper, prognosis, diagnosis. And then the appropriate medication was given. So you were working, the medication then helped that physical body, but it also helped the energetic body and the connection to the organs that were affected at the time. For me, one of the things that, like we said, it was the heart. So obviously there were issues about the heart, issues about connection with relationships. But this is me being vulnerable. My liver has always been affected. And for me, it was a lot of unprocessed anger. I mean, granted, it didn't help because the chemicals were, eating away physically at the toxins in my liver. But I also needed to address the liver emotional issues.
And this, like we said, in the theory, it's explaining this frustration. They call it liver fire. It rises into the heart. So this is why I love the traditional medicine as well, because a doctor will look at, oh, she has, you have breast cancer. But traditional Chinese medicine will go, no, she has unaddressed energy in her liver, and they will go in and they will treat the liver, not the breast.
Yeah.
Not the breast. No.
Yes.
So did someone want to ask
I'm fine.
I'm just going to hold on. I'm just going to mute somebody because I can just hear there we go.
So it's not only a look at the symptom. They in Chinese medicine they address the root cause. But for me, it's evident, and in the classes that I'm teaching now, Yin Yoga, acupressure, in the individual healing sessions that I'm doing, I've had people come in and I haven't even been able to touch them. I've just told them to breathe. And the fact that they start to breathe deeply into their diaphragm and start to give themselves an hour to experience and express emotion is enough.
Yeah.
Is enough. I don't even have to go in and touch the fascia or work with the muscle tissue or specific acupressure points.
And that's the thing. It's so individual because one person might need the toxins in their body released physically, do a detox or take this medication or there was poisoning, whatever. One person might need to be supported through an abusive relationship.
But it's generated the same.
But it's generating the same sort of physical manifestation.
Exactly.
One person's mind might be just, so stressed or abused or whatever it is. So it really is the same physical manifestation, but the cause might be physical, mental, emotional, or energetic. And that's why I loved the Chinese medicine inclusion with Western medicine. I think there's a time and place for everything, and I would never discount the value of. I know that I needed to do a little bit of chemo, but having used that Chinese medicine and conjunction with it was by far like that was the power of it. Then moving forward, once I was in a state of health, and the value of Chinese medicine really so well. I'm hearing somebody, so I'm just going to take off their sound. Okay, there we go. It's that one, yes.
So the foundation, the first thing that we learn is that, and it's a Chinese expression, is that man is an organic whole. It never looks at, it looks at you in the physical, but it looks at the quality of your relationships. It looks at the quality of your nourishment.
Yeah.
It looks at how hydrated are you? What are you hydrating your body? What is your alcohol consumption like? What are the conversations like? You know, if you're getting older
levels,
and disease is manifesting, they look at, well, are you as someone that's getting older or a pensioner or something like that? Do you have a life? Do you still feel like you have purpose?
Yeah.
You know, and this is coming out now from Blue Zone studies, where they're
Yeah.
saying, you know, life expectancy, yes, is linked to nourishment and the physical body. And yes, genetics, about 18% of our DNA is responsible for how well we're going to age. But what is actually turning on these genes is the quality of the energy around us, the quality of our relationships, the quality of our interactions, how we feel on the inside. Do we feel like we serve a purpose? Do we have a reason to get up in the morning?
And also to acknowledge the choices we make.
Yes, because this is also an energy, or it generates an interaction or an experience.
Yeah.
And so they don't just look at you as the standalone thing. You know, I might have a headache and you might have a headache, but my headache has absolutely not the root cause of my headache
Totally
has absolutely nothing to do with the root cause of your headache. You know,
Unless you're living together.
I mean, unless you're twins and you're eating the exact same thing at the exact same time, saying the exact same thing, having the exact same interaction.
No, I was just kidding.
Yeah, I know.
We
This
can
sounds you
explain
too. So, you know, this is how we can understand it a little bit more. So I think it's clear to me from the treatments I've done the last year, individually and with the groups, it's all emotional. And I would even be as bold to say, I'm about to grab one of these oranges.
Yes.
I would even be as bold to say that I don't think that any kind of disease begins in the physical body.
No, I agree. I do agree.
It's not to say that if you're eating nonsense, you're going to be healthy, because if you're eating nonsense over a period of time, you are going to get physically ill. But I would be as bold to say as more than 90% of our disease does not generate. It's not generated.
And I think the only exception to that rule would be if a child is born with a deformity or a specific disease. But other than that,
most diseases are chronic disease.
Yeah, but that's the exception to the rule. But we are born as the healthy being that is born. There's the disease does not stem from the physical. It's the emotional, the mental, the energetic, and then manifests as the physical.
It's interesting because in astrology, you can detect from the moment that you have the time of birth, the consciousness that the baby, you know, and absorbs,
which leads me to say the follow-up here is going to be chatting to her about Vedic astrology.
Incredible modality.
Yes, and she's genius.
And so when a consciousness come into the body of this fetus that is about to come into the world, most of the things that happen to this body, we're not talking now about the consciousness. The consciousness is just going to have an extension of experiences that's going to support this consciousness. As you come out, all the environmental kind of influences that affects as a whole, the body, the mind, everything, create some sort of a physiological expression that can start working, you know, on blockages and all of that. And eventually, you know, the body is a machine that is amazing. And, you know, in early life, most of the early life, the body is fighting all those
and if you're already given information as to where the body is at
and the thing is that we are witnessing now the chronic disease that's starting so early, much more before, because the stresses become exponentially,
which will lead me back to saying the original thing of we need to spend more time in nature. And I'm going to, because as you can tell, we could continue talking for hours. But I want to almost leave it on a cliffhanger for a little bit, because I want to bring Sharon into the kitchen for the next one, where she can share more of her Vedic knowledge and we can sit together and really sort of hone that in. Because if we start now, we are completely going to get lost for another 3 hours. So I'm going to actually open it up. Just ask, just briefly, would any of you like to ask us or make any comments about the conversations we had tonight? If you do, I see there are 7 of you on, no, I lie, 6, count Elaine. Just unmute yourself. You all, Catherine, were you wanting to?
No.
No.
Very
Oh, good. So what I'm going to do is just say a really hearty thank you to my friends, to Sjenade. Thank you so much. I'm so pleased this is your last night in Cape Town.
It is. Flight to Joburg tomorrow.
Wow. So, until we see each other again, hopefully sooner than later. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. And the great thing about online is that we can still do an online one, but it's going to be really nice to sit around the table. Thank you so much, Sharon, for joining the conversation. She always makes it interesting, makes us think. So thank you to all of you for joining me this evening in the kitchen. And there's going to be lots this year. There's lots of conversations to have. So yeah, lots of love and to a really good 2025. So
same to you.